You might think that everything is just peachy keen after the latest Grand Theft Auto McDonald's incident, but you'd be wrong. Because do you even know whose YouTube channel you're listening to this on? Come on! Problems always find me. My mind inherently produces problems if they somehow do not. And you've got problems too. Because if you were a truly everyday upright citizen, you wouldn't have navigated your way to this video. Hot problems. Anyway, Jesus disappeared without a trace, and not for the first time in my life. The lost episode characters came back once they knew the coast was clear, with George Jetson sticking his nutsack in the deep fryer, Bob Saget grilling up horse meat burgers to unsuspecting children, including for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and Al feeding pussy cats out in the open, and boy, oh boy, I think that paranoid schizophrenia of mine is really acting up. Al feeding pussy cats. No days off, my good buddy, the manager of this particular fine eating establishment proclaimed. He actually looked kind of like Bill Belichick. Again, keep in mind, these are days spent parking my ass on a padded seat and eating, since I'm a multimillionaire from selling t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other memorabilia from being an internationally renowned LOL cow. And boy, oh boy, would I never take my business elsewhere, even under the threat of endless waterboarding at Gitmo. So unsurprisingly, I was sitting on my rump, chowing down on a Big Mac, when the store phone rang and I picked it up. 911, what is your emergency? I inquired. I'm sorry, but we have to close down your McDonald's immediately. I now weigh 576 pounds because your milkshakes kept bringing my loins to your yard. And it is now culturally acceptable that if you gained weight, you should just sue McDonald's. If you don't shut down by 12 o'clock midnight, I'm going to have to close you down because I pissed in the Cheerios of the entire county General Assembly last week and forced them to eat it. That is all. With that, the mysterious man hung up the phone. He had a strong Philadelphian accent. He called back and rambled about how much he hates Donald Trump, but he talked so fast that I couldn't get a single word in edgewise. Well, this was a fine predicament we had somehow gotten ourselves into. Whatever would we do? I plummeted into depression, anxiety, and dyed my hair and skin orange because I instinctively dress up as Donald Trump whenever I undergo a personal crisis. George Jetson gave me a wink and a thumbs up. Al Bundy stuck his hand far down his pants while sitting on a derelict couch in the restaurant lobby. The Great Gazoo was there. Not sure why, other than that I'm frickin' insane. We weren't going to allow this. We were going to save this fine dining establishment for the people of the great town of redacted New Jersey once and for all, or my name wasn't also redacted. You already know if you stalk me. Strung out and having no time to panic at no disco, I plunged myself into the festive McDonald's ball pit and began to doggy-ducky paddle like Scrooge MacDuck. My mind was straying from a combination of lack of sleep and all of the alcohol I snuck into Mickey D's and consumed in recent days. I thought about the time my devices got stolen so that people with problems could laugh at how much I care about my favorite person, who I clearly think about every half a minute or less. But preventing this act of theft was even more urgent than preventing that. I swiveled around in the ball pit, tucked my chin into an Alf-themed adult Happy Meal, grasped a hold of the black-eyed Alf Funko Pop, and impulsively sucked and chewed on it for both comfort and to brainstorm a plot to save the world, aka the local McDonald's. Bombs away! Shouted Steve Urkel, who jumped off a diving board and into the ball pit, farting obnoxiously and scattering the majestically multicolored balls everywhere, littering the fine eatery floor with unimaginable beauty, like glimmering diamonds and emeralds, but plastic and sure to cause cancer just by touching them. I checked my tablet. 6 people were logged into the Facebook account that I made for a role play of myself as a skeleton. My phone buzzed and I received a text message from one of my dozens of captors who were holding my embarrassing stolen data hostage, claiming that they were only doing this because they adored me and wanted to pinch my cheeks. Yet they wanted to commit the unpardonable sin. Closing down McDonald's! No wonder Jesus left. Wait a minute. Skeleton, Facebook, captors, scattered balls. That was it. What if we cured obesity by forcing people to play violent video games that are so shocking and addictive that you don't even want to eat anymore or forget to even do so at all? I inquired to Speedy Gonzalez. An elderly woman smacked me over the head with her purse for talking to an allegedly offensive stereotype. But he invited himself into my mind to begin with, so whose fault is that? Trust me, if you don't have paranoid schizophrenia, you don't want it, believe you me. Health insurance scammers were blowing up my mobile phone with texts again. They all had a South Florida area code. I read one of them, and it was one of my captors. He said that I now only had until 11:05 p.m. sharp to save McDonald's. I asked him why the sudden change of heart, and he insisted that he had entire pizzas to eat and raccoon feces to clean up outside his condo door, and that my personal matters no longer had anything to do with his life. Yet he was the one who really wanted to close down McDonald's. Go figure. Jimmy Neutron was conducting potato experiments on containers of large fries when I requested that he code the game. Bob Ross developed the graphics, painting in breathtaking textures of trees, chicken McNuggets, and chattering skeleton jaws. Bubsy Bobcat lent his vocal talent to provide such one-liners before levels as, "Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams," and "This is even worse than that private plane trip I took to the U.S. Virgin Islands." Now, it took a lot of effort. We had to quickly reassemble the restaurant into a video game studio. And I haven't slept in weeks, but we finally developed it. Grand Theft Auto plus McDonald's 3. I was so pleased that I called up the number of the most recent captor to contact me so that he could be informed of our remarkable progress. But he was unamused, insisted I had to allow him to record me playing it or he'd break into my family's house and steal a cherished stuffed animal out of my childhood bedroom. So I didn't have much of a choice. I mean, losing the home that I illegally stay at far more than 40 hours a week at McDonald's and losing a stuffed animal? That's not cool. That's not cool at all. The first level was programmed by my good friend C. Boyardee. It had you playing his newspaper comic strip sensation and MIT certified engineer Dilbert, walking around the office building and shooting people in the face with a Dorito gun because the pointy-headed boss poured AIDS into his morning coffee as a motivation technique to increase productivity and corporate profits. I shot Catbert square between the eyes and it sounded like a real-life cat in heat. What the fruck? Was this game implying that shooting Catbert with Cool Ranch Doritos caused them orgasmic desire? Evil head of human resources. Whatever. I got on my tablet and purposely Googled some freak shit for a reaction from whoever was hacked into it. After photocopying and faxing pictures of Dilbert's micropenis to his coffee-addicted coworker Wally, the imperial door to the final boss of the Dilbert level opened up, and it was Hitler, I guess. I mean, he had the mustache. I was doing a sig hail, but that it might have just been an awkward attempt at saying hello. I myself struggle with greetings in social settings, so who was I to judge, you know? The cameras in the break room twisted, turned, and convulsed in delight as I threw fry grease and rat feces in Adolf Hitler's eyes, and they got stuck in his toothbrush mustache. The overwhelming pew-pew-pew of spicy sweet chili, tangy barbecue, and Drano and oregano Doritos only caused the man-man further embarrassment as he screamed some stuff in German that loosely translates to, "None of this is real. You forgot to take your pills again, Charlie." Dilbert proclaimed triumphantly that he no longer worked for the Axis powers, which means he is a Nazi, and I sure hope the late Scott Adams had nothing to do with that, because I always saw him as a fuddy but strangely lovable coffee-obsessed grandpa who shouts at stray animals for shitting on his lawn. Suddenly, the infamous nerd and chronic public masturbator jumped through the office window, ignoring the blood-stained shards lodged into all 4 of his appendages, and plummeted 13 office stories while swinging his Spider-Man web, landing safely on his fuzzy pink bunny slippers and stealing the Hitlermobile. Yes, there is a Hitlermobile. Shut the hell up. Dilbert, with the bloodlust of a fat man who had just seen his last strawberry sprinkles donut stolen, broke indoor speeding limits and powered the damn thing up all 13 stories of a stairwell, running over crude MS Paint looking drawings of Shook, Alice, Dogbert, and Charles Barkley. I assume this was a reference to that indie game CBRD was developing. Probably all deserved to die anyway. Once he reached the top floor, he thrusted open the door that now had a crudely drawn "Dilbert never existed. Seriously, you need to go back to therapy" spray painted on it in crimson blood red. He hurled several hundred shurikens in the shape of the Star of David at Hitler's forehead, killing him instantly and saving the world from tyranny, I guess. Or at least the office life and the cutthroat world of business or something. The world was a better place now. There are only 2 levels of this game because we threw it together in half a day. It makes it all the more impressive, really. The second level was just a fat opera singer in a Viking hat, yodeling while you drive over her in a stolen Cybertruck. "Oh crap, my car," a zombie Elon Musk dribbling Heinz ketchup and mustard down his chin exclaimed. But I didn't feel sorry for him. After all, it was Elon Musk. Elon Musk will eat your brain. Really, that was it. Just 75 levels of running over an opera singer who refused to die while an undead Elon Musk was concerned about his stolen property and nothing but. Nobody called the police and nobody really cared. I guess opera does kind of suck anyway. I thought that was a job well done, and we get to keep our fast food burger mecca. That was the plot, in case you've forgotten. But then something I, as head developer and director, didn't order come into play. A Nickelodeon's Doug cartoon, in which Doug writes in his journal about how Pork Chop ate an entire mound of chocolate and died. Or really, he ate a baker's dozen of McDonald's cookies that Doug and his family didn't properly dispose of. It was really sad, and I could feel a single teardrop form in my eye. Once I stopped crying, I realized in true terror what the real problem was, however. That ran counter to the entire purpose of the entire fricking game. I received another text message from a health insurance scammer. Just one, but this time it was more than enough. He told me that that was the worst game and cartoon footage he had ever seen in his entire life, that we should be ashamed of killing the most beloved canine character in the history of television, and that our McDonald's was definitely going to be closed down. We should all be ashamed of ourselves for even trying. The time was now 11 o'clock p.m., 5 minutes before the wrecking ball was scheduled for demolition. He told me to go back out and witness the destruction of my favorite place forever and ever, pairing the message with an ominous XD ASCII face that will haunt me for the rest of my life. Realizing that our Mick fate had been Mick sealed, I walked out back only to discover that's not what it was at all. There were a half a dozen raccoons taking a massive dump all over the back patio. Yes, we are an especially fancy McDonald's with a 5-star outdoor dining experience. A man in a skeleton costume donning a monocle and top hat twirled his fancy wooden cane around like a baton, and he began to sing. Burgers for breakfast, burgers for lunch. You failed out of school. Your brain needs a crutch. So do the people who'd enjoy your program. We know who's really stalking you. His name is not for you to know. The skeleton deadpanned, feverishly clattering his jaw. He poured a barrel of gasoline around the outside of the restaurant, lit a match, and threatened to set it aflame and claim the insurance money. My heart gave out because I couldn't imagine living in a world without McDonald's, and neither could you, if you even have a heart at all. But it was all just a brilliantly calculated misdirection ploy. Dumbass! I never wanted to burn down the McDonald's. I simply wanted to humiliate you, chattered away the skeleton, and with the tip of the top hat and final sensational twirl of the cane, he was gone. For now. Until he would strike again. Someday. Unannounced. Whenever. That's why we have an endless amount of sequels. Of course, it may have all just been a dream, or more likely a hallucination. And Fred Flintstone told me I really need to relax and forget about the whole thing and go pick up cave chicks at a rock bar. But I'm not interested in rock bars, and I'm not interested in picking up cave chicks. I'm all about one and only one thing, or perhaps two. Two all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.